Welcome to another deep dive. Today, our mission is to explore a truly fascinating roadmap of the near future.
Yeah, we're looking at a really comprehensive report from Retailbound.
Right, the retail consulting firm founded by Johann Jacob.
Exactly. They've mapped out the future of retail product launches between the years 2026 and 2030. And
The amount of tech integration they're forecasting is just staggering.
it really is. The overarching theme here is that e-commerce isn't just growing, right? It's undergoing this fundamental structural evolution.
Yeah.
The tools that brands use to introduce new products are shifting rapidly toward hyper-personalized, heavily AI-driven, and, intensely immersive experiences. We're looking at a complete departure from traditional rollout strategies.
Which means whether you are an entrepreneur trying to figure out how to get your next big idea onto a store shelf, or you're just a consumer wondering why your online shopping feed seems to be like reading your mind lately, this deep dive is for you.
Right, because we want to understand the mechanics behind the shift.
Exactly. If you think about a classic product launch from a decade ago, it was inherently a broadcast model.
Oh, totally.
A brand would buy a massive billboard or a heavily produced television commercial during a major sporting event. They just blasted one single unified message out to millions of people.
And just cross their fingers that a tiny fraction of that audience would actually care enough to buy the product.
Right. That broadcast model was the ultimate one-size-fits-all approach. But the retail landscape of 2026 to 2030 effectively inverts that model.
It does. Because instead of one message reaching millions, it's about generating millions of unique messages, each reaching exactly one person at the precise moment they're most likely to convert.
And to understand how that is even logistically possible, we have to start by looking at the invisible engine powering this entire transformation, which is, of course, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, AI is the foundation of all of this.
Okay, let's unpack this because the Retailbound article points out that AI is going to drive the entire launch process. And we need to be clear here. We aren't just talking about slapping a friendly customer service chatbot onto the bottom right corner of a website.
No.
The source details AI handling tasks like analyzing global trends, predicting consumer demand, preparing the actual retail pitch decks.
Which is huge.
Right. Forecasting sales for specific retailers, planning the pricing models, and writing all the product copy.
It's an incredibly comprehensive list. If you consider the traditional corporate structure, those tasks are handled by entirely separate siloed departments.
Yeah, like you have market research analysts pulling trend data.
Exactly. And a finance team running predictive models and spreadsheets to forecast sales, plus an external marketing agency spending weeks drafting copy.
Right.
But by 2030, the source notes that AI will function as a highly integrated, invisible launch team operating simultaneously across all those disciplines.
I really want to dig into the mechanics of that because reading that list of tasks feels a bit like reading a sci-fi novel. Like, how does an AI actually forecast sales for a specific retailer better than a human finance team?
Well, it comes down to the volume and velocity of unstructured data processing.
Okay.
A human team might look at historical sales data and seasonal trends, right? But an AI model in this 2026 to 2030 window will ingest that historical data and seamlessly cross-reference it with real-time social media sentiment analysis.
Wow.
Real-time supply chain logistics, shifting macroeconomic indicators, and even like hyper-local weather patterns.
That's insane. So it's looking at everything all at once.
Yeah. And then it can generate a custom pitch deck tailored to a specific retail buyer's API, essentially saying, based on these 20 variables, your stores in the Midwest will need precisely 14,000 units of this specific color variant by mid-October.
It's like treating e-commerce not just as a static digital catalog, but as an impossibly high-performing digital floor manager who instantly rewires the entire layout of the store for every single person who walks through the door.
That's a great way to put it.
Because the source specifically mentions using this tech to serve targeted launch content to micro-audiences. It's predicting what you want before you even consciously realize you need it.
And what's fascinating here is how that redefines our whole understanding of personalization.
How so?
Well, historically, personalization in marketing meant an algorithm successfully inserting your first name into an email subject line.
Right, the classic, hey John, buy this shoe.
Exactly. But in this coming era, personalization means dynamically generating a unique 3D product demonstration, surrounded by lifestyle imagery that matches your exact demographic and past purchasing behavior, paired with a promotional offer calibrated to your specific price sensitivity.
But I want to push back on that a bit because there is a tension here that feels unresolved.
Okay, go for it.
If every single brand has access to this incredible AI team, if every competitor in the market has an algorithm predicting exactly what I want, writing perfectly optimized copy tailored to my psychological profile, and serving it to my specific micro-audience, doesn't this extreme personalization run the risk of becoming a new kind of generic?
That's a really good point.
I mean, I think about how streaming algorithms on platforms like Netflix or Spotify sometimes create this sterile, homogeneous echo chamber where everything recommended to me feels a bit soulless. If every brand is perfectly algorithmically optimized, doesn't every brand just start to sound exactly the same?
That is the defining challenge brands will face in this era. When the barrier to entry for perfectly optimized copy drops to zero, the text itself loses its premium value.
Right.
The differentiation will no longer come from simply having the AI technology. It will come from the proprietary data feeding it and the nuanced execution of the brand's core identity.
Meaning the AI has to be trained to sound like the brand, not just trained to maximize click-through rates.
Precisely that. The one-size-fits-all strategy is officially dead, but the brands that win won't just be the ones running most A/B tests.
Yeah.
The winners will be the brands whose AI best understands the subtle human nuances of shopper behavior without losing their unique voice. The AI moves retail from being reactionary, launching a product and waiting to see if it sells, to be highly predictive. But it still requires a foundational brand identity to keep it from feeling like sterile algorithmic mush.
Okay, so the brain is the AI, doing all this predictive heavy lifting, market analysis, and copywriting on the back end. But eventually, this digital strategy has to translate into something tangible.
It does.
How does a customer, or even a retail buyer for that matter, actually experience this product before they pull out their wallet? Because perfectly optimized AI copy is great, but at the end of the day, humans are visual, tactile creatures. I want to know what the thing looks and feels like.
And that brings us to the visual shift detailed in the report, which is immersive technology. Specifically, virtual reality and augmented reality are evolving from novelty tech into foundational pillars of the product launch.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I think a lot of people still intuitively view VR and AR as gaming accessories, or maybe just fun filters you use on social media to see what you look like with dog ears.
Right, yeah.
But Retailbound outlines this as a critical business tool for the 2026 to 2030 window. Let's start with virtual reality, because the report focuses heavily on how VR transforms the B2B side, the business-to-business interactions between the brand making the product and the retail buyer deciding whether to stock it.
Yeah, and the logistics of B2B sales have historically been incredibly cumbersome. Imagine you are a buyer for a major national retail chain.
Okay.
To evaluate a new product, a brand has to manufacture a physical prototype, ship it to your office, or you have to fly across the country to attend a massive, expensive trade show.
Which takes forever and costs a fortune.
Exactly. But with VR, the source notes that buyers can review product samples in highly detailed virtual showrooms.
How does that actually function mechanically? Because looking at a 3D model on a computer monitor isn't exactly new.
No, but the difference here is spatial computing and physics simulation. In this upcoming window, a buyer puts on a headset and manipulates a 1.1 digital twin of the product.
Oh, wow.
The VR environment simulates the actual weight, the light reflection on the materials, and the kinetic movement of the parts.
That's wild.
Furthermore, retailers can test merchandising ideas instantly. A buyer can digitally drag and drop the new product onto a virtual replica of their exact store shelving to see how it competes visually with the brands they already stock, all before the launch even happens.
That completely eliminates the need to manufacture and ship physical prototypes all over the world just for early-stage evaluation. It makes it faster, cheaper, and infinitely more flexible for a retailer to say yes to a new product.
It condenses a 6-week physical sampling process into a 60-minute virtual meeting. That is a massive reduction in operational friction.
And then on the consumer side, the article shifts focus to augmented reality, or AR. This is the try before you buy concept, but brought into the immediate physical space of the shopper.
Right.
The source gives examples like trying on makeup or apparel or glasses virtually, or seeing how a piece of furniture looks in your actual living room before you order it. But they also mentioned a specific use case that caught my eye, which is scanning packaging to unlock 3D instructions or product reviews.
Yeah, that's a big word.
I have to admit, I've used some of those AR scanning features before, and they usually feel incredibly clunky. You're awkwardly holding your phone over a cardboard box, waiting for a digital PDF to load.
Oh, absolutely.
So my question is scanning a box for 3D instructions really going to replace a simple paper manual? Or is that just a tech gimmick brands use to make their launch feel futuristic?
This raises an important question about the line between friction and value. If an AR manual is just a digital PDF floating on your screen, then yes, it is absolutely a gimmick that adds friction. But the 2026 to 2030 projection relies on advanced spatial mapping.
So it's reading the physical environment.
Yes. Imagine you were building a complex piece of flat pack furniture.
Always a nightmare.
Exactly. Instead of deciphering a tiny paper diagram with confusing arrows, the AR interface maps the physical wooden pieces lying on your living room floor.
Oh, I see.
It visually highlights the exact piece you need to pick up next and superimposes a 3D animation showing exactly which screw goes into which hole, anchored perfectly to the real object in front of you. It removes the cognitive load of translating a 2D drawing into a 3D action.
Okay, that makes sense. When it actually solves a pain point rather than just showing off the technology, it becomes valuable, and you can see how that elevates the shopping experience too.
Definitely. And to take the apparel example further, the evolution of consumer AR isn't just a flat visual overlay. The technology will integrate seamlessly with real-time supply chain data.
Wait, how does that work?
Well, the AR system can cross-reference the user's exact spatial body dimensions, scanned via their device, with the retailer's active warehouse inventory. It will only render 3D models of clothing that are actively in stock in their precise size.
That is incredibly smart.
The ultimate goal here is boosting shopper confidence. When a new product launches, it competes on a crowded digital shelf. If AR can definitively prove to a customer that the couch fits their corner or the jacket fits their shoulders, it dramatically reduces purchase hesitation.
Okay, so we've got the AI brain perfectly predicting who needs the product,
Yeah.
and we've got AR and VR creating this incredibly immersive, frictionless, confident buying experience.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, cool tech alone doesn't automatically equal add to cart.
Right.
You still have to get people to actually care. You need to get them to put on the headset or open the AR filter in the first place. How are these brands manufacturing actual hype in this upcoming window?
They are engineering it through highly targeted, data-driven social commerce. The source is clear that influencer marketing is not going away. It is simply maturing. And AI is stepping into this arena as well, helping brands identify the exact right influencers, matching them to those micro-audiences we discussed.
I really want to understand the mechanics of that because historically, influencer marketing has been notoriously difficult to quantify.
Oh, it was a total guessing game.
Right. Brands would pay an influencer based on a vanity metric like their follower count and just hope the resulting post magically translated to sales.
It was very imprecise. But in this future window, AI tools transform the mechanics of influencer marketing by providing measurable, mathematically proven ROI or return on investment.
Okay, how?
AI will track complex multi-touch attribution models. It can analyze pixel data, social sentiment changes, and indirect traffic spikes to prove that a specific video created by a specific influencer drove a precise subset of purchases over a 30-day window. It completely removes the guesswork.
Alongside that, the source points out that live shopping is projected to continue its massive growth trajectory, particularly on platforms like TikTok and Instagram. It's essentially a modern, interactive QVC on your phone, hosted by a personality you already trust.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And another major strategy the article highlights for engineering hype is the use of collaborations and limited edition drops. We're talking brand and influencer partnerships, retailer-exclusive color variations, and even AI-assisted product designs that are rapidly prototyped based on whatever micro-trend is dominating the internet that week.
It's all about that manufactured scarcity.
Yes, it's as if the classic sneaker drop model where scarcity drives insane demand has been supercharged by AI and applied to literally every category. Cookware, hand soap, office supplies, everything is a limited drop.
Right.
But I have to wonder, with AI mathematically engineering the perfect influencer match and an algorithm predicting the exact next microtrend to design a limited drop around, do we lose something fundamental there? Well, do we lose the authentic, accidental viral moments that make social media fun and engaging in the first place? If everything's perfectly engineered for maximum psychological hype, doesn't the hike start to feel incredibly artificial to the consumer?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the environment these brands are launching into. Consumers are swimming in infinite scrolling feeds and possess unlimited purchasing choices.
True.
The primary goal of these engineered strategies is simply to break through the sheer volume of noise.
Because if a consumer isn't forced to decide right now, they just keep scrolling.
Exactly. Exclusivity and urgency, which are the core mechanics of a limited edition drop, are necessary psychological triggers. Without them, a consumer knows they could easily just tab over to Amazon and buy a generic, cheaper version of the product 5 minutes later.
That makes sense.
You cannot rely on accidental virality as a business model anymore. The authenticity of the interaction has to eventually come from the product's actual tangible value, but the delivery mechanism for that product absolutely requires this engineered urgency just to get a foot in the door.
So let's say the launch strategy works perfectly. The AI targets the right micro-audience, the influencers host a wildly successful live shopping event, the AR filter builds buying confidence, and the limited drop sells out.
Okay.
At the end of the day, this product still has to exist in the physical world, and the Retailbound article makes it abundantly clear that the physical reality of the product, how it's sold and how it's made, is just as critical as the digital hype leading up to it.
That's a crucial point. The final trends identified for the 2026 to 2030 period ground all of this digital and predictive innovation in real-world execution. And the first major requirement is that omnichannel strategies are entirely mandatory.
So what does this all mean in practice? It means a launch cannot just happen on a brand's website and nowhere else.
Right. It must be a seamlessly integrated data presence. A launch has to span retail stores, online marketplaces, the brand's own site, social media commerce, and mobile apps. And it requires unbroken data continuity across all of them.
Unbroken data continuity.
The customer journey might involve discovering the product on a TikTok live stream, testing it using an AR filter in their living room, and then walking into a physical retail store a week later.
Okay.
When they walk into that store, their mobile app should ping them with the exact aisle location of the item while automatically honoring the discount code they received during the digital live stream. The transition between digital and physical spaces has to be utterly seamless.
And the second real-world factor the source highlights, which might actually be the most critical hurdle for getting onto those physical retail shelves, is sustainability.
This is huge.
The source emphasizes that younger shoppers are vocally demanding eco-friendly practices, but the shift goes far beyond consumer sentiment. Retail buyers, the people actually controlling what gets stocked in major stores, will increasingly demand proof of sustainability before they even consider approving a new product.
It is a massive shift in leverage. Future product launches will be heavily vetted on their use of eco-friendly packaging, transparent sourcing, ethical manufacturing practices, and overall carbon footprint.
Wow.
The report also specifically mentions that retail buyers will look for support for circular systems.
Meaning the life cycle of the product doesn't end when it's thrown in the trash. It includes built-in logistics for repairs, refills, and recycling programs.
Exactly.
But I look at this entire list of requirements and I see a massive tension.
Oh, so
Well, to launch a product in 2030, you need a highly sophisticated AI, back-end processing terabytes of data. You need to build immersive VR showrooms for buyers and spatial AR mapping for customers. You need an integrated omni-channel API that tracks data everywhere at once, completely ethical sourcing, and a reverse logistics circular system for product repairs.
it's a lot.
That sounds impossibly expensive. It sounds overwhelmingly complex for a new brand. How does a startup or an independent creator even survive these demands? It genuinely sounds like you need the operating budget of a Fortune 500 company just to get to the starting line.
It's a very valid concern, and it looks daunting on paper, but the analysis suggests a paradoxical outcome. Adapting early to these exact technological trends actually reduces launch costs in the long run, which levels the playing field.
Wait, how does adding all this tech reduce costs?
Think about the operational savings. A startup doesn't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars manufacturing physical prototypes and flying them across the globe to pitch a buyer. They just deploy a VR showroom at a fraction of the cost. And the AI tools that handle copywriting, market forecasting, and pitch deck generation effectively replace the need to hire massive, expensive external marketing and analytics agencies.
So the technology creates massive cost savings on the administrative and logistics side.
Yes. And a lean startup can then reallocate those operational savings directly into meeting the ethical sourcing and sustainability requirements.
That is so smart.
Because sustainability is no longer just a nice-to-have marketing bullet point that you put on a cardboard tag. It is a fundamental gatekeeper metric.
Yeah.
If a retail buyer won't even grant you a meeting without seeing your circular system logistics, it's not an extra cost. It is the basic cost of entry.
Yeah.
Brands that embed these sustainable systems into their supply chain API from day one are the ones that will secure the shelf space.
It's essentially the difference between building a house, right, the first time with proper insulation, solar panels, and a solid foundation, versus building a cheap house and then desperately trying to retrofit it with a green extension years later when the building inspector shows up.
That's a perfect analogy. It's much harder for legacy brands to pivot their entire massive supply chain than it is for a startup to just build it correctly from scratch.
The landscape of 2026 to 2030 is undoubtedly demanding more from brands, but the digital tools available to meet those demands are exponentially more powerful than ever before.
It really is a complete paradigm shift. We are looking at a near-future landscape where a product launch is defined by profound AI-driven efficiency, deeply immersive B2B and B2C spatial computing, mathematically proven influencer ROI, and a strict, non-negotiable adherence to omnichannel data continuity and sustainable values.
The broadcast era of yelling a single message at a crowd is really over. The hyper-tailored predictive era is here.
It is. And whether you are an entrepreneur actively building a business pitch to get your product into major retailers, or you are simply a consumer casually scrolling through a live shopping feed on Instagram, understanding the machinery behind these launches is vital. It makes you a sharper, more effective professional, and it certainly makes you a much more informed consumer when you recognize the sheer volume of predictive intelligence that goes into the products presented to you on your screen.
It fundamentally changes the way you look at your own shopping habits. You start to see the complex web of data and logistics behind every single targeted ad.
You really do.
And that actually leaves me with a final thought for you to chew on as we wrap up this deep dive. We started by talking about that old school billboard, a brand broadcasting a message into the void, hoping you'd listen and realized you needed their product.
Right.
Now, we're moving rapidly toward a reality where AI is becoming so incredibly sophisticated at predicting exactly what you want before you even consciously know you want it. And brands are perfectly engineering limited drops to match those predicted desires.
Yep.
So the question is, if the algorithms become flawless at predicting our needs, at what point do we stop actively shopping and simply let the algorithm curate our lives for us? If the technology knows exactly what you need for dinner before you even open the pantry, will we eventually just let it place the order?
That's a wild thing to think about.
It really is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.